Hey folks, how's it going? Welcome back to KCK Debunks. So I was going through some Flurf content and I happened to come across SSUM's channel. Calls himself Sovereign Citizen Unchained Mind. He really needs to change the name to Schizophrenic Senior Unhinged Mind. But, we'll see, you'll see after this what I mean. Now, he was on his panel doing his usual derpy shit, just talking everything. Guy's never met a conspiracy theory he didn't love. And he happened to have a fella come up, but last name is Curry, who's another religious nutcase like Som is a religious flirt. And this fella here, well, he's not too far. I don't know if he believes Earth is flat, but he's definitely a religious nutcase. So let's check out some of the derp and the insanity. It's quite entertaining. And see what we can find and maybe debunk some of this, but at least have a good laugh.
Physics and logic on a level supreme. It's a curved reality, splitting Flurf dreams.
There's Wesley Curry. What's happening, Wesley Curry?
Hi, I saw you on my live feed on YouTube and thought you might give me 1 or 2 minutes to put my my half a mind in on it.
All right, why don't you go ahead and do that? Let me bring you up here.
Are you ready? Because this is going to be some freaking crackpot, religious freaking derpy shit that he's definitely somebody who probably needs to be sectioned or something, because this is some freaking wacko shit.
Trump is not, on this day, one of the 10 horns of Satan. He is not the Antichrist.
No.
Trump shall become one of the 10 horns of Satan. The 10 horns give over their country's economy to Islam oil banks.
I mean, what the fuck? Holy shit. What is he on about? Because, woo, yeah, we're off to a good start here.
This shall happen during the presidency of Trump. What shall happen first is this. A nuclear bomb will explode in Chicago in the Corn Cob Twin Towers, melt one of the buildings. All in that city will have to evacuate from the radiation. That same day, Russia shall destroy.
I think somebody's taking a hit of a bong while listening to this. I don't blame them.
Destroy Washington, D.C. with nuclear hypersonic missiles. New York City, Atlanta, and Huntington, West Virginia. USA shall destroy Moscow that day with hypersonic nuclear missiles. That's the first day of hell.
You know that nukes aren't real, right?
Right, so Jerry, also known as Som, doesn't think that this is real? Are you sure about that? I mean, really? Have a look. So you're saying that this nuclear blast isn't from a nuclear bomb being tested. But yeah, we know nukes are real because they exist. We've seen them. We've tested them. We've built them. They 100% do exist and are real, Jerry. I'm sorry, Som. Or should I say schizophrenic senior unhinged mind. But nukes are real. And there's lots of evidence for it.
Within a month of that, or several months of that, Trump shall become one of the 10 horns of Satan. He shall force the branding of your flesh with a barcode called the Omni barcode. Now, to entice you and tempt you to taking that barcode, he shall say that you get free money. The amount will be $32,523. None of it in cash. Not
Why that
free money.
Why that specific number? Hold on. Why that specific amount?
Let's just say it's an educated guess.
Okay, I thought maybe there was something behind the number or something else like that.
Translation: he pulled the number straight out of his ass because reasons. Just because he thought it sounded nice? Fuck if I know. He doesn't even know why he said $32,000 and some odd dollars. Whatever.
most Americans are going to take that branded barcode that we branded with handheld lasers on the right-hand wrist or forehead. It's a barcode.
Mm-hmm.
The barcode has 2 sets of bars in each of its formations. One number will be your personal ID number. When you go to Walmart and draw your mark over the scanner, your name will come up on the screen with an account to spend of $32,523.
So how exactly does this guy think that everybody's going to get a barcode? What, is everything get tattooed on them or something like that? Like, how are they going to get this barcode that his Omni bar, what the heck he's talking about? There's probably better ways of doing it. Like, you can simply have, like, you know, everybody has a certain wristband that they have put on them, card, you know, I don't know, retinal scan, facial recognition, a little chip implanted. Why a barcode? Why is he saying specifically something that probably has to be tattooed onto you and will actually fade over time or can be damaged easily or probably even altered because, well, you can go on Amazon and buy yourself a tattoo machine pretty easily.
The other barcode number in every Omni bar is 666.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yes, the conspiracy theorist's favorite number. They tout this number more than probably almost anybody else. Especially the religious freaking, like, nut jobs like this guy and Psalm and all the other religious fanatics. They love this number. It's all they ever seen is spout. Really weird, but why? Why would they have that number 666? For what reason, other than the fact you think it's evil? Makes no sense whatsoever. He's just spouting religious rhetoric and fear-mongering because he wants to sound like he's making some sort of prophecy. I don't know.
So that's how Trump is going to give over the kingdom of America to Satan. He gives over the economic sovereignty to the Islam oil bankers who will be monitoring your spending by Taliban computers.
Why exactly do you think that Trump's going to hand over to the Islamic nations, and particularly he mentioned the Taliban? As far as I'm sure, didn't they like wipe out the Taliban like years ago? It wasn't the whole point of like going into Afghanistan and all the other stuff. So why that? And it seems like Trump's really against like BRICS and all that other stuff. Like he's putting sanctions and stuff. So why is he thinking that Trump in particularly is going to hand it over to the Islamic nations and the Taliban? Now, Keir Starmer probably will because, well, you know, the UK Prime Minister seems to love all that stuff. But I don't think Trump's really in bed with them, really. So that's kind of weird. This is just a more religious fanatic BS.
Wouldn't it be easier? Because you're going to get people that are just going to say, you know, screw all that. The more advanced thing that they're doing now is through biometrics.
There's
retinal
not
scans. I'm talking about retinal scans from 15, 20 feet away.
Washington, D.C. gets wiped off the face of the earth the first day of the rapture.
But what? By what?
There's not going to be a Supreme Court to judge and say, no, Trump, you can't do this. There's not going to be a Congress to vote.
Do you actually think nukes are real?
Your hand just miss it.
I mean, do you think?
Why does this guy just say, yeah, because, well, we've built them. We know they exist. There's been like numerous tests. France likes to do tests all the time. And yeah, you can legit like see the records on how, you know, like different nuclear bombs, like the Philadelphia experiment, and many other things. See, Japan, you don't believe us, go to Japan, ask them. I'm pretty sure there's at least relatives, direct relatives, if not some people still around that were there when you seen Fat Boy and Fat Man and Skinny Boy or whatever be dropped on Hiroshima and Nagasaki. That did happen. And we can still go there and see the remnants of it to this day.
You think really that nukes are real?
Do you think marijuana is helping your mind?
It hasn't hurt it, no.
Something says to me Psalm's probably abused it because he's a Chong-looking motherfucker. And by the way he speaks, the way he is, probably the fact is, if you use anything like that, could affect your mind, and it has affected his. Also, beginning of this stream, Psalm was actually talking about the fact that he's got he's got a heart condition, and he's actually got a problem with one of the blood vessels that if he doesn't get his blood pressure down, it's going to could actually end up bursting, and you could end up needing kind of taking him out or something like that. So, it seems like he's not in the best health, and he's probably overindulged a lot of stuff. So, I would think for him, marijuana probably hasn't helped him because he's probably overused it, as well as probably many other illicit drugs.
Hand dismissal.
Why would you ask such a stupid question in response to my question? I merely asked you, do you believe that nukes are real? Yes or no? That's all.
Oh, okay. I'll listen to your question. I'm going to reserve an answer right away. I'm not going to just spit out the first thing that comes to my mind about that.
I have a hypothesis. He said that because he knows that if he gave the answer that he knows is true, which is nukes are real, the fact that he was talking about nuclear bombs and everything else, he knows that this whole panel will just pretty much hand wave and discount everything he said, and he wants to give his prophecies and his stuff, and for them to at least take some of the stuff he said with some sort of validity. So he's not going to give the answer that he knows they want to hear, because then they can just pretty much just, think that they discredit everything he said because they don't believe that nukes are real. So he knows what the answer they're looking for. He doesn't want to give it for reasons that to get his message across. As crackpot as it sounds.
Well,
I'll rather consider the question a little bit before I answer it.
Okay, well, here's my take on it. I don't think nukes are real. Most of the people here tonight don't think that nukes are real. And here's one of the big glaring reasons why. People are living in Hiroshima. People are living in Nagasaki. People live near the test sites where they supposedly tested these nuclear bombs, which were actually boxes of TNT stacked. We have video of them doing this shit.
There's easily verifiable reasons of why they were being able to do that. Also, there was cleanup efforts for these certain places. And when a nuclear bomb goes off, particularly with doing tests and stuff like that, the radiation levels and radiation given out is different than, say, something like Chernobyl, in which it was a nuclear reactor melted down and a whole ton of radioactive material leached into the soil and stuff like that, and into the area, and it was still reactive at that time. You remember, something's going off, it's causing a massive explosion. So a lot of that material is being changed and burnt up, and you're having a massive, huge explosion reaction, bam, flash. So it's a little different. If you look into it, you can see that the radiation is poisonous to us people, like gamma radiation and stuff like that. After about several weeks, it did go down, but there wasn't ill effects. There are many, many people from Nagasaki and Hiroshima who actually exhibited different things like cancers and birth defects and abnormalities and stuff. I think most of the people that were around when those went off, I read it, they have passed away from pancreatic and different kind of cancers that were really abnormal that you wouldn't normally see. And a lot of them, actually, there was a lot of people that had radiation poisoning, radiation burns, and various other effects from being close enough to the blast sites where they weren't obviously affected directly by the bomb, but because of the radiation being so high so long, their genetics were changed. This is documented very, very thoroughly, and you can find this just by simple internet search. It doesn't take much at all. As well as you can always go to Japan, and they have memorials set up in which they talk about all of this and what happened and the aftermath, and then the cleanup, and where we're eventually able to rebuild in these areas once they're able to see whether the radiation levels had dropped off enough that then they were able to start rebuilding. As well as I think there was cleanup efforts to clean up any kind of residual nuclear material and stuff like that.
If nukes were real, someone would have used one by now.
You sure about that? You sure about that? That's why?
Jerry, yeah, we fucking did. Ended the Second World War. Remember? Nagasaki, Hiroshima, Japan, US dropped 2 bombs on the Japanese people. Yeah, we did do that. And then we realized, oh shit, this is really bad. This is a really dangerous freaking bomb and weapon. Perhaps we shouldn't be using these anymore. But then they had them because of power. Then, they had the Cold War and stuff started just after that. And it built up, and then you had the mutual assured destruction, all that crap like that. But that's why nuclear bombs are still around to this day, because they are very devastating. They are extremely powerful, but we also don't want to use them because we realize there's a lot of consequences to use these things, and it's probably, not the best thing. Like, for enough to be used, then we might as well just call our society and our whole race at the end, and they're going to start all over, because that's kind of where it'd go if it broke out that bad. But, yeah, we have used them in 1945. So here's some of the footage that was taken by the U.S. Air Force. So this is from one plane showing the other planes going. This show from the distance, and obviously videotaping to see the use of these weapons. This is the first time these weapons are used, and so obviously the military wants to see. So that was Little Boy, that was 15 kilotons, and you can see from the distance. And then this is the second one. I think this one here is Fat Man, and you can see the devastation it showed. And there's a mushroom cloud because it's a nuclear bomb, and there you are. So that's Fat Man, 1945, 20 kilotons. They were used, and the devastation is still felt to this day, and the Japanese remember.
Probably most likely Israel.
And there's never been long-term fallout as well.
No. So do they have big bombs? Yeah, they got pretty big bombs.
Right.
The size of what you expect from a nuke? No, not even close.
What makes Jerry the authority on any of this shit? He's a fucking nobody. He's some flat earth religion flurf who believes in every single fucking conspiracy theory he can ever come across. So what makes him the authority on what would constitute a nuclear blast and not constitute a nuclear blast? Nobody. I think he mentioned something like he was in the army for a while. He was probably some grunt that was scrubbing toilets and getting coffee, and then pretending like he did something that was even remotely important. I thought he had some knowledge. He had fucking nothing, because he's a nobody. Nobody cared about him, and now he sits there on the internet pretending like he's authority on everything, but he's proven wrong so many times, and he's just nothing but a vile, vindictive old man.
They do have strategic bombs. They do have laser-guided bombs. They do have that kind of thing. But this has all been a thing to keep everybody in a state of fear and panic. And it rose right up in the 80s, along with the world stage of the Soviet Union falling. I mean, you remember the song about the 99 Luftballons and, all that shit. I was over in Europe during that time. I was stationed with the U.S. Army in Frankfurt.
Funny if I live in Europe right fucking now. And the song 99 Luftballons is just a song about how 99 balloons were mistakenly identified or mistakenly, thought to be some sort of enemy attack. And it's just kind of a song about the obscurity of war and sometimes how things can be misconstrued a different way, or one little thing can sometimes trigger stuff. And so, I think the 99 Luftballons is like, it's mistaken as some sort of military enemy attack and escalates into a massive military response. It's not actually based on anything in particular. It's just a song that is this thing about just the obscurity of war, and somehow how things could just something so stupid and ridiculous and pointless can end up raising tensions that don't need to be raised. Now, another example is that when the U.S. was testing their missile defense, and they had a defense thing they had developed, and they suddenly thought they had found some sort of massive missile launch coming from Europe, coming towards the U.S., and it almost triggered a nuclear war until they realized what their radar stuff was picking up was 250,000 miles away. And that's right. The radar had detected the moon rising over the horizon. Because they obviously triggered it, I didn't realize it couldn't distinguish the two. It thought there's all these missiles, like way more than any missiles that actually even existed, were coming from Europe and coming during the Cold War. Luckily, somebody got onto it and stopped before it escalated to something bad. But that's actually a real world account where something like that happened, and it almost and could have gone worse if it wasn't for the fact of cooler heads prevailing and realizing that it was a mistake and a false alarm.
And there was constantly the fear of nuclear war going to take place at any given time. They even put out some movie that was on TV, a made-for-TV movie that had all kinds of big stars in it. It was called The Day After. And it was a scenario of the United States getting nuked by the Soviet Union, which doesn't exist anymore. People still think that those are Soviets. They're not. They're Russians. That government collapsed a long time ago. But it was really put the fear into people about the radiation and their teeth falling out and all this other shit and their hair falling out and starvation and people being miserable. And this is what the government does. They keep you in a state of fear. Watch out for the coup. Watch out for nukes. Watch out for Antifa. Watch out for these people. Watch out for this. You better be careful about this. A huge asteroid size of 33 sheep is going to hit the earth or come real close to it all the time, all the time.
Some of those movies were actually made back in the 70s and 80s and even into the 90s because the fear of nuclear war, especially during the Cold War, when you had a massive buildup of nuclear weapons on both sides and a lot of tensions, and you had even into Vietnam and stuff like that, was real fears. And these things did happen and were happening. And so what happened is, he's talking about movie. Well, yeah, Hollywood kind of picked up on that, the trend going right now and everything else. And so there was a movie made because it was the kind of showcase doing the fears of what was happening and pop culture and everything else and what was on people's minds. Obviously going to bring up something like that because it is the thing going and it's going to make money, and this is how they're going to, get crowds in and watch stuff like that. You also see sometimes you'll have trends in which there'll be like loads of alien invasion movies coming out. Now, I bet you Saab doesn't believe in aliens, but guess what? Yeah, you get loads of this. There's for a while back in the 60s, there's like loads of like zombie films. Zombie films were the thing. It was all the rage. Talking about zombies, zombie this, zombie that. Especially after when the Thriller came out and the Michael Jackson music video and it had zombies in that. It just became all the rage. So yeah, back then we used to talk about that. It was the whole thing that was in pop culture was nuclear war, nuclear fallout, stuff like that, fears, and everything else. And people came and watched it because it was almost like one of those kind of movies. But yes, the things, hair falling out, teeth falling out, and stuff like that, that is all factually proven, like radiation poisoning, and it has happened, not always from nuclear weapons, but it can be from being exposed from other forms of radiation and stuff like that. People do can get radiation poisoning, and that is exactly what happens. Now, Saab's going to obviously discount it, go, that doesn't happen, and guess what, it does. And Saab is not in a 30, he doesn't know fuck all, so he's just chatting shit because he doesn't like it, so he's going to say it doesn't exist. And this is pretty much his rhetoric of how he treats most things. He loves conspiracy theories, hates scientific facts, evidence, and valid points that are made.
Well, thank you for letting me. I'm not going to go on and on and on. I said what I wanted to say. Thank you.
Oh, that's cool.
Hey, don't forget about cameras being immune to nuclear blast as well.
Yeah, the test videos that they
cameras
show
always survive nuclear blasts.
You ever see that one they show where the house disintegrates and the trees all sway and shit? That's all a model. How'd the camera survive that? They even got one from inside one of the houses, right? And the camera survived. X-rays film actually was able to come on, man.
That's not actually hard to explain. For the one where he shows the house disintegrating and the trees and stuff. Well, guess what? That was a camera. You can look this up. It was a camera that was in a protective casing in the box, and it had something called a zoom lens. Yes, holy fuck! It was really far away, and they had a telephoto lens on there inside of a casing to protect it from the radiation that would be gone further out, because it carried on wind. And they zoomed in on those particular structures and watched it and see what happened. Now, as for the the camera that was inside, that they say. I think I've seen that one. And that was inside, once again, a lead-lined box with, you can have glass that has a bit of lead shielding in it. And it was shielded from the radiation, and in a box that they hoped that would survive the destruction. Obviously, it was inside the house. So the house would have took a brunt of all the shock wave. And then they knew kind of what radiation they were dealing with because they built the weapon. And then they went and found it in hopes that it would protect it. And I think what you see is the part that survived inside the protective casing, and that they were protected from the radiation. So not that hard, because funny enough, we built the things, we know how they work, and we know how to shield against stuff, and and you can build things to shield and protect against things like the destruction of, inside the building. Go in there, dig through it, usually houses for protective clothing and stuff like that, and then you can retrieve the data, and hopefully it survived. Now, in that case, it did survive. Sometimes it didn't survive. And you know why? How do we know it didn't survive? Because we don't see the fucking video, because it never existed, or it didn't survive. But they figured out ways of making it survive. Not difficult. This is quite easily explained, but Saab doesn't think that way because he doesn't have any critical thinking skills. None of these guys in this panel do.
That's crazy shit there.
How'd the camera get there?
They ran him off real quick.
I don't actually think they ran him off. He only wanted to come on there and just spout his whole rhetoric thing and give his prophecies, or spout his religious freaking indoctrine, weird ass whatever. The world's coming to an end. The guy standing on the street corner with a sandwich board, shouting about how everything's going to come to an end. That's all that really was. How did the camera get there? Well, guess what? Somebody fucking put it there. Holy shit. You wouldn't think that, maybe people doing the test with put cameras or some sort of measurement things to kind of document or show the test of what they were trying to show and test, wouldn't they? So somebody put it there, then it went really, really far away, and then somebody else pushed a button, did the test, the bomb test, and then they went back in there and retrieved it and seen if it survived, and then notice it did survive, open the film up and go, all right, great. Our shielding and stuff and what we've done to protect this seems to have worked. Wow, okay, let's see what we can see and see if we can get some data from it. Not difficult, easily explained, and it's because, we figure shit out. Why do you think this is the first time they did this? It wasn't the first time. They probably had many cameras that got destroyed, many things filmed that got destroyed, got wrecked, and they had to figure out ways until eventually it worked, to figure out ways to shield it, ways of designing enclosures, something like that. So this isn't fucking hard, but these guys just don't even think of shit like that because they're just stupid, right? As Craig McNeil says, you're not dumb because you're a flat earther, you're a flat earther because you're fucking dumb. And that's about it. So, yeah. That was just it. That was Saab. There's only a little clip of what they were on there. I just thought it was funny that they had some sort of religious freaking nutcase jump on there, and they're already religious nutcases themselves because there are a whole bunch of religious flares for that. Yeah, that's about it. Thanks for watching the video. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Click the like button. Comment down below. Let me know what you think of this. And remember, people, Earth's different than the globe. Space is real, but don't forget, stay curious, and I'll see you again. Thanks for watching.
And by the way, all those rumors on the internet are fake. I'm not flat. I'm not hollow on the inside, and there's definitely no reptilians inside of me!